Now let's move on to the pathogenesis of diabetes mellitus. First, we'll learn about the pathogenesis of type 1 diabetes mellitus. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease in which islet cell destruction is caused by immune effector cells which react against endogenous beta cell antigens. Earlier, it was known as insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus, but this terminology is no longer used to avoid confusion, as many type 2 diabetic patients also depend on insulin eventually in the management. Most patients with type 1 diabetes mellitus depend on exogenous insulin for survival. It commonly develops in childhood, manifests at puberty, and progresses with age. The classical manifestations of the disease occur only after more than 90% of the beta cells are destroyed by chronic autoimmune attack. The fundamental abnormality is failure of self-tolerance in T cells. So previously we have learnt in the chapter of immunity that there will be clonal deletion of self-reactive T cells in the thymus and also suppression of self-reactive T cells by immune regulatory cells. But here what happens is the self-reactive T cells will survive due to the defect in the above said mechanisms. So the self-reactive T cells attack the beta cells, the beta cell antigens including insulin, beta cell enzymes, and will eventually destroy them. Insulin itself may act as a self-antigen. The other antigens are tyrosine phosphatase, glutamic acid decarboxylase, and other beta cell enzymes. So the autoantibodies against these beta cell antigens are detected in the blood of about 70 to 80% of patients. So next, coming to the mechanism of beta cell destruction. Type 1 diabetes mellitus is mainly a T cell mediated autoimmune disease. So we have T lymphocytes like CD4 and CD8 T cells which are involved in beta cell destruction. CD4 plus T cells or the helper T cells secrete cytokines, that is interferon gamma, which activates macrophages, and the cytotoxic T cells directly will kill the beta cells. Also, there will be local production of cytokines like interferon gamma, tumor necrosis factor, interleukin 1. So all this will lead to beta cell apoptosis. Also, there will be autoantibodies against the islet cells and insulin, which are formed due to the T cell mediated injury and release of normally sequestered antigens. This picture shows the mechanism of beta cell destruction. So destruction of this beta cell is mainly T cell mediated. The autoantigens are released from beta cells by either cellular turnover or damage to the beta cells. So the beta cells secrete autoantigen, and these autoantigens are taken up by antigen presenting cells which will activate T cells, both T helper 1 and T helper 2 lymphocytes. The activated T helper 1 lymphocytes secrete interleukin 2 and interferons. Interleukin 2 activates cytotoxic T lymphocytes or CD8 T cells which destroy islet cells directly through secretion of toxic perforins and granzymes. The interferons activate macrophages and stimulate the release of inflammatory cytokines including interleukin 1 and tumor necrosis factor. So these cytokines will further destroy the beta cells. Activated T helper 2 lymphocytes produce interleukin 4 which will stimulate the B lymphocytes to produce islet cell autoantibodies, which again leads to beta cell destruction. So this is about the mechanism of how beta cell destruction is caused. So all this above mechanism will result in beta cell necrosis, and there will be lymphocytic infiltrate within the islets of Langerhans. So this leads to insulitis, that is inflammation within the islets of Langerhans. The pathogenesis of type 1 diabetes, it involves the interplay of genetic susceptibility and environmental factors. So coming to genetic susceptibility, type 1 diabetes, it is a polygenic disease. There are over 20 susceptibility loci for type 1 diabetes. both MHC genes and few non-MHC genes are involved in the pathogenesis. We have MHC genes like class 2 MHC gene on chromosome 6p21 and DR3, DR4 alleles on MHC. The persons with these genes are more susceptible for type 1 diabetes. Non-MHC genes like the insulin gene with tandem repeats in promoter region are associated with increased susceptibility to diabetes type 1. Also, environmental factors like viral infections, example we have Coxsackie, Group B infection, mumps, measles, and also exposure to chemicals and drugs like nitrosamines are also associated with increased risk for type 1 diabetes. So this is the flowchart showing pathogenesis of type 1 diabetes mellitus. So we know that there is interplay of both genetic predisposition and environmental factors, which leads to immune dysregulation, and finally there will be beta cell destruction and insulin deficiency in diabetes. So the clinical manifestations will begin only after about 90% of the beta cells are destroyed by autoimmune attack. So next, moving on to the pathogenesis of type 2 diabetes mellitus. Type 2 diabetes mellitus is a complex multifactorial disease. So there is interplay of environmental factors and genetic factors. Environmental factors like sedentary lifestyle, dietary habits, central obesity, hypertension, lipid abnormalities like increased triglyceride levels and decreased high density lipoproteins unequivocally play an important role in the pathogenesis. Coming to genetic factors, the disease has concordance rate of 35% to 60% in monozygotic twins, compared with nearly half that in dizygotic twins. More than a dozen susceptibility loci called diabetogenic genes are identified. The two metabolic defects that characterize type 2 diabetes are insulin resistance and beta cell dysfunction. Insulin resistance, it is a state in which there is decreased ability of peripheral tissues to respond to insulin. And beta cell dysfunction, that is manifested as inadequate insulin secretion in the phase of insulin resistance and hyperglycemia. In the early stages of the evolution of diabetes, there is insulin resistance, compensatory beta cell hyperfunction, and hyperinsulinemia. Pathogenesis of type 2 diabetes mellitus involves two defects, that is insulin resistance and beta cell dysfunction. Insulin resistance, it is defined as the failure of target tissues to respond normally to insulin. It's often present 10 to 20 years before the onset of diabetes in predisposed individuals. It leads to decreased uptake of glucose in muscle and adipose tissue and decreased ability of insulin to suppress hepatic gluconeogenesis. It also leads to increased synthesis of thromboxane A2, decreased synthesis of prostacyclin, which leads to platelet adhesiveness. So in this picture, we can see there is insulin resistance. Though there is presence of glucose in the extracellular component, this glucose cannot be taken up inside the cells as there is insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is a complex phenomenon that is influenced by a variety of genetic and environmental factors. Firstly, any genetic defects in the insulin receptor or in the insulin signaling pathways can lead to insulin resistance. For example, reduced phosphorylation dependent activation of insulin receptor and its downstream components can result in insulin resistance. Another important cause for increased insulin resistance is obesity. The risk of insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes mellitus increases as the body mass index increases. This can be explained by the role of following factors. So first is role of free fatty acids. We know that the adipose tissue stores and releases fatty acids, and it also synthesizes other active compounds. In obese persons, the level of intracellular triglycerides are increased. These intracellular triglycerides and products of fatty acid metabolism are potent inhibitors of insulin signaling, and ultimately it will result in acquired insulin resistance. Also, we have role of inflammation. Excess free fatty acids within the macrophages and beta cells engage the inflammasome, which leads to the secretion of cytokine, that is interleukin 1 beta. So this interleukin 1 beta mediates the secretion of other pro-inflammatory cytokines, which promotes insulin resistance. Third is the role of adipokines. Adipose tissue also acts as endocrine organ, releasing adipokines. Adipocytes also release interleukin 1 beta and other pro-inflammatory cytokines, which will promote insulin resistance. Next is the role of peroxisome proliferator activator receptor gamma. It is expressed in adipose tissue. It plays a role in adipocyte differentiation. So apart from this, the other causes for insulin resistance are excessive glucocorticoids, growth hormone, PCOD, pregnancy, gestational diabetes, lipodystrophy, and hemochromatosis. So all these are the different causes which leads to increased insulin resistance. In this picture, we can see how insulin resistance is caused. The free fatty acids induces secretion of pro-inflammatory cytokines from the macrophages and beta cells that causes beta cell dysfunction and ultimately resulting in insulin resistance. So next, moving on to beta cell dysfunction. Because of insulin resistance, initially the beta cells secrete more insulin to maintain the blood glucose levels. But in the long run, there will be beta cell dysfunction, which leads to hyperglycemia. This excess glucose and free fatty acids will promote pro-inflammatory cytokine secretion from the beta cells. This results in beta cell destruction and ultimately loss of beta cells. Finally, there is loss in the normal pulsatile pattern of insulin secretion, decrease in the beta cell mass, islet cell degeneration, and deposition of islet amyloid protein called amylin. So this flow chart shows the pathogenesis of type 2 diabetes mellitus. Genetic predisposition and environmental factors like obesity will converge to cause insulin resistance. So initially, the compensatory beta cell hyperplasia can maintain normoglycemia, but eventually the beta cell dysfunction occurs, which leads to impaired glucose tolerance and ultimately frank diabetes occurs. Rarely, primary beta cell failure can lead directly to type 2 diabetes mellitus without the state of insulin resistance. But this condition is very rare. Okay, this is all about the pathogenesis of both type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus. So next session will be on the clinical features of diabetes mellitus. Thank you.